ladies. Welcome back to part 2 of everything that I do to romanticize living here in New York City. Let's get to the second half of how I romanticize living in New York City. Starting off strong, one way that I romanticize living here in New York City is one day a week I have a day inside where I enjoy my Rhode. DeAndre Brown, he came out with a recent TikTok where he was like, you truly do need to have a day where you enjoy your Rhode, especially if you live somewhere that has high Rhode, like New York City. Now, usually my one day inside is during the week because on the weekends, I like to go out, I like to have fun, I like to explore the city, and that's when a lot of fun things are happening in New York City. So during the week, I have one day that I am inside, I'm enjoying my rent, I'm taking a nice relaxing bath, I'm enjoying this beautiful view where I see literally the whole skyline and 2 boroughs at the same time, and I love being inside. I truly do. The older that I get, I love being inside my apartment in New York City. The second way that I romanticize living in New York City is every so often I do like to take a taxi. Now, I live in Upper Manhattan, so I make sure to get out the taxi before, the West 61st Street, if you know, you know. I'm just not paying a congestion toll pricing. But I like to take a taxi and just romanticize hailing a cab and taking it back to, our home where we live in Upper Manhattan. And I love also contributing to tipping culture as well as taxi drivers. So I used to drive for Lyft way back in the day when I first moved to New York City and we lived on the Upper East Side. Now, at the time, they were not giving out TLC or taxi licenses. So even though I drove for Lyft in my hometown of Nashville, Tennessee, I couldn't drive for Lyft or Uber in New York City pre-pandemic. So I just drove in northern New Jersey, and the tips and the fare, I earned around $500 a week easy, minimum. But because of the rise of rideshare with Uber and Lyft, and then new ones like Waymo and I think Alto, it's really negatively affected taxi drivers here in the city. So this is also a plea for you all to, instead of taking an Uber, contribute to the economy of people who still drive taxis for a living, and make sure when you do that you tip them very well. The third way that I romanticize living in New York City is I like to run my errands in a different neighborhood. Now, on the one day a week that I'm inside my house, I'm enjoying this high rent, okay? I'm enjoying the beautiful view, my building, all these things. That is the day that I'm in my neighborhood as well, and I'm contributing to the local economy. So I'll go to different bodegas, I'll go to my local grocery store. But on normal days when I'm not inside all day, I do run my errands in different boroughs and different neighborhoods. And I feel like this isn't talked about enough because it's very easy to stay in your borough, right? Every single borough in New York City has a mall. Every single borough has a Target. Every single borough the Bronx doesn't have Trader Joe's or Whole Foods, but that's probably coming very soon, especially in South Bronx, that they're trying to make into Sobro. But it is very easy to stay into your normal routine and forget hey, I live in a major metropolitan city and maybe I need to go to Brooklyn. Sometimes I will go all the way to Brooklyn and run my errands and be okay, what do they have at the Whole Foods at Atlantic Terminal? And I used to live in Flatbush, Brooklyn, and sometimes I will go out to the mall and Flatbush, Brooklyn, and just contribute to the local economy there. I think that is something that is very overlooked, but it's one way that I romanticize living here in New York City. My next tip has to do with taking a break from New York City, and I think in order to truly love living here, sometimes you do need a day away or a weekend. So every month I like to take a suburban day, okay? Sometimes 2 times or 3 times a month. And where I live, I'm super close to Bergen County, New Jersey. So I just go over the bridge and I spend a day at the Garden State Plaza Mall. I love that mall so much. Or I'll go to Newport, New Jersey. I'll go to that mall and dilly-dally around. Sometimes you really do need a suburban day. I highly recommend, if you're more partial to Long Island, go out to the Roosevelt Island Mall, because it's, again, when you live in New York City, the way that we live is atypical. Like, it's very atypical to go to a Target underground and for it to be super small and tiny. Like, sometimes I need to like get my big suburban, shopping cart and push it, okay, with my little Starbucks drink. Like, sometimes I just need to feel something, okay, as a Black suburban girly. And that's what I do. And my kids love coming along for these suburban days as well, because down south we did live in a suburb, and that's how they grew up. And it's just very comforting for us to go back to the suburbs and take a Walmart trip. There's no Walmarts, okay? Like, long time ago, there used to be a Walmart in Westchester County, and that's how New Yorkers used to go to Walmart. I don't know if anyone remembers, it was in downtown White Plains. It was attached, I think, to the Westchester Mall, I think. Don't know if it's still there. I have not been to downtown White Plains in many years, but now if I want to go to New Jersey, I have to take, a train and like a bus all the way to Secaucus. Like, so sometimes I just need a suburban day. That's why that I romanticize living in New York City every single day is I like to have a genuine conversation with one person every day. So today was Summer Streets, and I brought my kids along. That's when they close off that's when they close off certain streets and avenues in every single borough. And we were in Washington Heights, and we were talking to this older lady. I think she thought that I was looking for a bus. I was like, oh no, I know where to take my bus to get home. And she was like, oh, I was telling my friend, like, go to Fort Washington. Like, that's where you can catch a bus when it's like crazy. So like, we were just having a cutie little conversation. And I think when you live in a big city like New York City, it's very easy to like put your headphones on and ignore people. And I do that sometimes, okay? Sometimes that is necessary to always have your headphones charged. But on days where I really want to romanticize living here, maybe I won't wear my headphones for part of my commute. And, someone says something to me, and they strike up a conversation, I'll have an entire conversation. And I recommend for you ladies to do the same. Last way that I romanticize living here in New York City, and let me know if you want a part 3, because there are certain things that I do to, romanticize living here and loving it, right? Because I know there's so many things that are wrong with this beautiful city, but there's also some things that are pretty cool. But my last thing that I do to romanticize living here in New York City is I walk the Brooklyn Bridge every single month. Now, I am a few months behind, so I have some catching up to do. And as a deeply spiritual girly, I do feel like bridges, and especially bridges that hold a lot of energy, are somewhat of a portal, and they can accelerate things for you. So when I walk the Brooklyn Bridge, I like to visualize my highest, happiest, wealthiest, most stable timeline. Sometimes I like to bring my notebook with me, this very one, and I like to write down like maybe a ritual or so that I will do on the bridge. I like to write letters to my higher self, my future self, and I hold them all here in these sweet pages. And I think that's another way that I just kind of stay a little whimsy, because listen, living in a major metropolitan city, sometimes it really can suck the happiness out of you. So every single day, every single week, I'm going to have certain days that I romanticize living here. And I hope this video has inspired you to do the same. Let me know if you want a part 3 and I'll film it for you.